cannibalize commercial.
So we have already gone through many steps in the lease process when we come up to this point to researching the particular market. So we want to look at 5 key things when I consider for my retailer that I'm going to do site selection for, and this will ensure that we're truly getting the perfect location for this retailer. So let's hop in it. Number 1, we're talking about who is developing in the area. I want to know what's being built. Is this going to be other strip centers? Is this going to be a lifestyle center? It's going to be a mixed use where there's going to be residential components to it. I want to know what kind of buildings are going to be put around the particular areas that we're seeking to get a space in. You know, who's behind the project? I want to know the successful developers that we're going to have a diverse set of tenants, our tenant mix, our tenant programming that may affect whether positively or negatively to my tenant that I'm working with. And I want to know how this is going to affect the existing retail in that area, and then it's going to cannibalize whether demand for my client's services or actually increase those services. If it's a like-kind type of tenant, think of certain types of tenants do complement one another to drive traffic to that area. Of course, with development, it may increase traffic. We want to think of accessibility to this particular site, and finally talk about anchor tenants that are going in. So are we close by a grocery store? Are we close by a car wash? Are we close by a QSR national type of tenant? Think of a Chipotle, think of a Starbucks that are going to drive traffic to a particular location where we are looking at with these developments. So that is number 1. With developments, of course, I want to know the timelines of these developments and what stage they are in when it comes to permitting. Are they already coming out the ground? Are they already in lease up? And are they close to stabilization? So I want to know who these people are and who the movers and shakers of the developments are. So that is number 1. Number 2, we're talking about what has sold recently of these retail sites, because I want to know what is trading, not just for my investors, but this actually affects my tenants as well. I want to know who's buying these properties and typically what they do when they turn them around. Are they going to carve up out parcels to do further development? So I truly want to know these sales comparables, how many people have bought particular properties in a particular area, so I can know, what to expect when it comes to expectations on even rental increases as well. Because if people are buying properties, of course, they want to increase possible NOI, or is this a stabilized asset? So that is very important. And the sales prices and the cap rates are going to tell me a lot about that particular activity in this area. Give me a clear picture of what is happening for my client when I'm doing my market research. So number 3 is going to be economic trends in the market, in the submarket. So this could be macro, this could be national, this could be state, this could also be local. So I want to see what type of retailers are moving into an area and how is this impacting consumer spending, of course, on a localized area. I want to see what national retailers are expanding or contracting in a particular area, because this may affect my particular retailer. And let's not forget the effect of e-commerce. So depending on the type of tenant it is, may or may not have any effect from an e-commerce type of effect. So are people moving from e-commerce to brick and mortar, or is it vice versa? E-commerce proof, meaning they have to have local visits. Typical eye care examinations or any type of medical use, depending on if it's telehealth, may or may not have to have a physical location, versus other type of businesses can be completely online and have a distribution node, maybe in an industrial setting as well, so maybe not be affected. So that is number 3. And of course, before we go, talk about legislation. Are there any changes in tax assessments that are affecting these particular properties? And that also might affect when they trade, and also, if there's people moving in and out the area as well, making it a good retail area or a bad retail area. So number 4, We're talking about your competition. Of course, we want to know exactly where all your competitors are in a particular submarket, mapping that out, seeing if you're going to cannibalize their demand and increase yours. How is my client's concept comparing to what is actually available? And then how are we going to position you to complement the existing tenant mix or stand out entirely? We want to make sure you are complementing who is actually there already. And this is conversations we're going to have with the landlord as well, a landlord rep. We want to know what exactly the type of tenants they're seeking for this particular site. So whether this is pre-leasing a development or an existing site, these are conversations we want to have. And I want to prep you as a tenant to know this so we can, of course, put you in the best light to that landlord. So we just don't want to know who the competitors are next door. We're trying to leverage that location data, that site data, to have a competitive advantage. And that's what we'll do here in the fourth step. And finally, number 5, we're talking about what value does this add to my client? We're going to have all this information. How does this really solve your problems? So by knowing what's in development, I can help you pick a location with long-term potential. Is this an area that is truly on the up and up? Are there other developments that are not even retail that just are localized to this area, the population trends, the demographic trends that are going to affect this area in the long term positively for my client? Of course, we want to analyze the recent sales and making sure that there's velocity of capital that is moving into the area. Of course, this is going to affect the area when it comes to development and just other retailers moving to the area. And then finally, we're tracking these trends ongoing. So whether we're going to do an expansion, we are going to look at multiple locations. I'm helping you stay ahead of the market and position your brand for growth. So when it comes to finding the right retail location, it's not just about the space, it's about the strategy. And that's my job, to solve these problems, reduce risks, and setting you up for success. So if you're a retailer looking for your new location, let's talk. Click the link below if you see it in this video, and I will see you in the next video talking about our lease process.